and welcome. I'm your host, Sterling McKinley, and you're watching In the Black, the podcast where every week we interview diverse entrepreneurs and we share their entrepreneurial journey. What does that mean? We talk about their ups and downs, their challenges, their mentors, and most importantly, we share the tips and tools they use to build a profitable business that stays in the black. Tonight, we have a great guest. We have Mr. Reginald Gant. He's a workforce development trainer, speaker. See, that's so many things. And he's also the owner of um, Career M Solutions. Reginald, welcome to the program.
Sterling, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So let's get started. I give a brief bio, but I want to
Yeah,
turn it
yeah,
over to you. I want you to take 20, 30 seconds and tell us who is Reginald Gant? What do you do?
absolutely. So if I could sum it up in 20, 30 seconds, Sterling,
Okay.
I would say that Reginald Gant is a man of many dreams, and I'm out to serve the masses. I believe in I believe, first of all, foremost, that men should be leading, protecting, and providing and serving God's way, right? So I
Right.
am all about creating generational opportunities and generational wealth through various avenues.
Okay.
And alongside my wife, we've been fortunate enough to have a few businesses right now that
Right.
that are doing fairly well.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So I always like to kind of go back in time and talk about when you got started being an entrepreneur. So tell us that. What kind of got you interested in being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'll say this: it wasn't really something that I grew up
Okay.
thinking about.
Right.
But in 2003, I was fortunate enough to land my foot in the good government door.
Okay.
And then about 2006, I had a colleague. She piqued my interest and introduced me to network marketing.
Okay. Well, let's
And
back up for a second. So that
yeah,
job with the government, what did you do exactly?
absolutely. I was working, it was a customer service job actually
Okay.
for the Social Security Administration
Right.
here in the Baltimore, Maryland area.
Okay.
Yes, and I spent quite a few years with the government actually,
Right.
almost 20.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Then you said one day a coworker kind of introduced you to
Yeah.
network marketing, and how did that work?
So she was very relentless in her pursuit. She knew that I had a
Right.
young daughter at the time, and she kept asking me about, making extra money, making sure that I was building something that would be able
Right.
to take care of me and her.
Hmm.
And she invited me out to a presentation.
Right.
I enjoyed it. She actually signed me up, so I joined the
Right.
company because, she actually fronted it. And I
Okay.
tried it out, and it didn't work out for me. And
Right.
actually, what I'll share, Sterling, is that I was like the typical person. I said the network marketing doesn't work, right?
Right.
But hindsight, looking back, what I can say is that
Hmm.
network marketing does work, but it didn't
Right.
work for me because I didn't work.
Right. Right. Yeah, I like what you said
Yeah.
because network marketing has this kind of stigma, around it. But I always think so. There's many things that, in a sense, are network marketing. It's about who you know. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, tell me about some of those challenges. You said that it didn't work for you because you weren't doing the work. So, what are some of the
Yeah.
lessons you learned from that early experience?
So I've learned so much from network marketing. First of all, the personal development is everything.
Yes.
And whether you're inside of network marketing or not, one of the keys to success is personal development. One of the things
Right.
that I've learned early on is that leaders are readers, and you should be reading,
Okay.
a book a month at the
Right.
bare minimum. At least 10 pages a day is what we're taught in network
Okay.
marketing. So, what it does is it builds your confidence, it builds your posture, so that when you get in
Right.
situations and you need to have conversation, you have the confidence to do so.
Right.
Um, but it didn't work for me because I was shy back then. I was
Okay.
timid.
Right.
And the word no was terrifying to me. A-
Right.
And because no crippled me, I stopped telling people about what I was doing. I stopped approaching people. I stopped doing it
Right.
all together. And there was no growth.
Right.
And obviously, if you don't open your mouth in network marketing, there is nothing to come as far as income
Right.
wise.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you just said because I too was a shy once, but I quickly found out being shy, not saying anything, you're not gonna make much money. But I think that's something that goes across every different opportunity, whether that's a 9 to 5, network marketing, or be entrepreneur. You know, you have to speak. And that's
Yeah,
something I think that's very, very important. So, great. So you did the first network marketing, it didn't work out. What is the next thing
yeah,
you kind of that kind
yeah,
of led to?
yeah. So, working in government,
Hmm.
I was actually in human resources at the time
Okay.
in the government, and one of the things that really pained me was that I saw the resumes of black and brown individuals, folks who
Hmm.
look like you and I,
Right.
and their resumes weren't good, right? And
Right.
then if they made it to the interview, they weren't doing good either.
Okay.
So the resumes weren't good, interviewing skills weren't good. They
Right.
just needed to be polished, right? They just
Okay.
needed to know that there was a better way.
Right.
So what I began to do is actually I began to take the resumes home of those that were really good, and I began
Okay.
to study those.
Right.
And I began to practice that and try that out on family and friends. And what that started
Right.
was the birth of my own resume writing company.
Okay. Great.
I started I started that around 2010, 2011. And when I saw that my family and friends were actually getting jobs and
Right.
getting into government and picking up extra money,
Hmm.
I decided to turn it from a hobby into a business. And that was when I started my first LLC, and that was around 2011.
Right. So, what are some of the things you saw on resume? Some of the mistakes that people had that was holding them back from getting jobs.
Yeah, so it was a lot of grammar errors.
Okay.
Folks were, there was discrimination based upon somebody's name, right?
Right.
So if
Right.
you were a little urban or
Hmm.
if you were African, for example, right? There was name discrimination. I saw that folks were putting their zip codes on there. So if you knew zip codes the way that I
Right.
did, I could
Okay.
basically label you based upon where you live.
That's a good one. On
Uh,
point.
yeah, it was so many discriminations that I
Right.
became privy to once I was inside of HR that I said, you know what? If there was a level playing field, if I could create a document in which black and brown people could level the playing
Right.
field, and you don't know what they look like, you don't know where they live, but they're polished, they're
Hmm.
presented on paper, and they make it to the interview and they have a fair chance.
Right.
That was what I was after, and I was very successful in doing that, and that's actually what
Okay.
led me to how my wife and I were introduced to one another.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Tell that story.
Yeah, so I was operating RG Resume right, and I was on Facebook, and I was really doing well. I mean, when I say really doing well, I had a lot of clients. I was doing a lot,
Right.
and somehow my wife came across my page on Facebook, and we
Okay.
scheduled a meeting. And I'll never forget, we met at the Panera Bread in Towson on York Road,
Yeah. I know. I said.
and
Yep.
the reason why we met is because she actually had an HR company. Company
Okay.
was called Career Image Solutions by
Right.
chance. And she was actually looking to partner with another resume writer so that she could begin to focus on serving the small business owner with HR services.
Right.
So we met to discuss business, but lo and behold, God had
Yeah.
other plans in store
Right.
for us. And next thing you know, one thing led to another. And here we
Hmm.
are, almost 7 years of marriage later.
Hmm.
We have 5 beautiful children, blended
Right.
family. Uh, it's just been working really well ever
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah, that's a great story. I've heard a lot of stories about how people
Yeah,
met, but that's a unique one, and I like it. So, tell us more about your company now. About exactly what do you do for people? Is it
yeah.
just resume writing? Or are you looking for jobs?
Mm.
Are you doing coaching for how to interview? What are some of the things you offer?
So let me tell you how amazing God has been to Career Image Solutions. When we first started, when I first met my wife and she shared the vision, I automatically bought into it. It was really just starting off when we met around 2011,
Right,
2012 ish. Um, it was just focusing on the working professional. So it was the resume writing, it was the LinkedIn, right? It was the helping folks with the interviewing technique. So we were
right,
doing workshops in the community. We were doing a lot of things for free back then.
hmm,
But Career Solutions has now grown into a global organization. We do leadership development, we do coaching on
okay,
diversity, equity, and inclusion
right,
all across this globe. And we're a full service, full cycle
wow,
HR firm.
okay,
So we
awesome,
do it all. We come into an organization, either we will partner with their HR or we will step into and serve as their HR. And
right,
as I said earlier, we're doing it global. My wife has been talking to folks
hmm,
now, and I mean all kinds of New Zealand just the other day,
right,
right? I mean places that we've never been. We
okay,
now get to
awesome,
make impact and serve.
that's great. Yeah, so you said it's been 7 years now. So what are some of the lessons you learned along the way? Because we all make mistakes or just do things we don't know. What are some things you learned along the
Yeah.
way to kind of help you better position yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, I definitely credit my wife for her vision, right? It
Okay.
takes vision to be able to build something.
Right.
So one of the things that has really been instrumental in the organization growing and flourishing are processes,
Right.
having systems and processes in place, right? You have to invest in the systems and processes. You have to automate
Hmm.
things, right? You have to have the standard operating procedures
Right.
so that that way it's not just you always doing it, but somebody can come in and easily read a document or easily get trained up, ramped up,
Hmm.
and be able to step in and take over those things, those menial
Right.
tasks. So what we've been working on lately is having my wife more so stay in the C-suite, and more so less out of the weeds of the day-to-day business. So
Right.
systems and processes are a must, Sterling, if I could impress that upon anybody.
Right. Okay. That's great. So I saw your LinkedIn profile and you're involved in a number of things. What are some other
Yeah.
projects that you're passionate about and that you're
Yeah.
working on?
Yeah. So around 2009, God began to speak to me, and He told me that I would be a leader of leaders and that I would be a leader of men.
Okay.
And as a result of that was birth Serve for Men LLC. So that's a leadership
Right.
development and coaching firm
Hmm.
that I started. So that's my own separate organization. And I
Right.
do a lot of work right now with men and fathers and husbands, and I empower them to lead and to protect and to provide God's way. So we're talking about I help them with their estate plans. I help
Right.
them with personal development. I help them with professional development. I'm an author, so I have several books of empowerment and inspiration,
Right.
that I share with the men. But most importantly, what we're doing right now is that I have a virtual meetup group. So
Right.
once COVID hit, we were actually doing meetups in person. But
Hmm.
because COVID came, we now do
Right.
virtual meetups. And it's just what I've created, what I love, Sterling, is a safe space. So
Okay.
men, we don't have to be anyone else when we show up into the group besides
Right.
who we are. We take off our titles at the door. We take the
Hmm.
S off of our chest. We're not Superman. And it's a community where we can just
Right.
open up and be vulnerable, hold each other accountable. We celebrate wins, we give encouragement. And that's been, my pride and joy, lately.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we have a segment that I call "Explain That Gram," and what I do is I go to your Instagram page and I pull out one photo. And since you're talking about Serve, I have a photo here
Yeah.
of you speaking with a gentleman at an event. I don't know if you're telling him to aim higher or he needs to be taller, but kind of tell me what's going on in this photo.
Yeah, that's an amazing photo. I remember that night. I was invited to speak and talk about my organization. It was
Okay.
an event going on in Washington, D.C. that night. And I took the stage and I shared all about what we do, and then I
Right.
was able to actually launch my book. That was the launch of my very first book that I wrote,
Oh,
Serve Yourself for
awesome.
Greatness, right? It was a book of affirmations for men. So he was one of the very first individuals to come up, and we were talking, and I was
Right.
telling him, about the importance of personal development, and he was
Okay.
telling me that he felt stagnant in his life.
Right.
He felt stuck. So I was basically saying, like, look, this is the sky is the limit for you. And I
Right.
was like, I believe in the king in you. I believe in everything that you want to do, but I also believe that you need to lock down. You need to get focused. And because one of the things that I realized was that time management was a challenge for him. And
Okay.
I was like, I believe that you have the ability to accomplish whatever it is that you set your mind
Right.
to. And the photographer happened to catch a great shot of
Okay.
me talking to him in that particular moment.
Right. Right. Awesome. Can you share us with us one of the principles from your book?
Yeah, so I've since written several books, right? So my pride and joy now is Your Greatness Unleashed.
Okay.
Um, and I'll just share the four phases of pursuing greatness, right? So I
Right.
actually have the book right here in front of me.
Okay.
So anyone that aspires to be great, right? There are four seasons, four phases that we have to go through. And phase number one is preparation, right? You have to
Right.
prepare yourself. You just don't automatically stumble upon being great. Michael Jordan didn't get all of his rings just by happenstance, right?
Right.
There was preparation in there.
Right.
So phase two is surrender. Surrender is when you give up. And for me, I'm a man of faith. So everything I tie it back to biblical terms.
Right.
To me, when I say phase two is surrender, you surrender your will, your ways for what God wants you to do.
Right.
God will begin to speak to you and tell you, gently what he wants you to do. And the surrender phase comes when we say, hey, you know what? I give up trying to do it my way. I give up trying to do what I want to do. I will finally lock into what you are calling me to do. And many times we run, right, from the things that we know
Right.
that we should be doing because we get afraid. Phase
Right.
three is growth. Growth is when God begins to stretch you, challenge you. You will be
Right.
pruned. You'll have to let go of some things. You'll have to let go of some
Right.
mindsets. There may be some people and family and friends that you may have to let go
Hmm.
of as well as you grow in that season into who you were called to
Right.
be. And then phase four is the harvest, and that's when you're living the dream. You work for it,
Right.
and a good example for you and I is our mutual friend Brian Oles.
Yes.
I look at Brian right now. Brian has been in Barbados for the last 30
Yeah, I
days, if
know,
I'm
right?
not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's harvest.
Yeah.
He's prepared for that. He's surrendered, right? He's
Right.
grown as a person, he's grown his organization, and now
Right.
phase four, he's reaping the harvest of what he's done.
Hmm.
So those are the four phases of greatness.
Right. Great. Okay. So yeah, we mentioned a few things that you're doing involved in. Is there any other thing you're working on now that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so my wife and I are working on some training right now for
Okay.
working professionals. So we understand right now, due to COVID, that we're in the middle of this great resignation.
Right.
So we are working on some projects right now to help folks get hired. So
Right.
for the masses, we're going to be helping them with their resume writing, with their
Hmm.
interviewing, with the way that they brand themselves, right? With
Right.
uh how to move ahead in the job, all of those things. So that's something that we're
Right.
working on behind the scenes.
Okay.
Um, as well as, yeah, maybe some new book projects. We have some other entrepreneurial endeavors. We have our eyes
Right.
on Airbnbs right now.
Okay.
I mean, just a lot of exciting things.
The
We
Gants are
just want to
taking
make sure that,
over. Okay. All right.
well, yeah, 5 children, bro. So we got to make sure that we leave something
Yeah,
behind.
right. I heard that. Okay, great. So tell us, how can we connect you? If we want to find you online, if you want to hire you for
Yeah.
coaching or services, how can people get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So on Facebook and LinkedIn, it's just my name is Reginald Gant. Last name is Gant. Gant is no R. On Instagram, it's at Reggie Serves. But if you wanted to just check out my website, I encourage people to visit the website. It's serve the number four men.com, and you can get my contact information there as well. Website is serve the number four men.com. I'm not hard to find, Sterling.
Great. Okay. Reginald, that was awesome. Just learning about all you do, because you're much more than a LinkedIn profile. There's a lot what you do, and that's
Yeah.
is that inspiring to hear everything you do is really grounded in faith. So I can definitely identify with that. But thank you for your time again. It was great talking with you. Yeah, thank you again.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. So once again, we heard from Mr. Gant that does so many things. Like I said, everything he does is grounded by faith. Whether that's workforce development training or his business, career image solutions, all of it works together. And I think some of the key things that he taught us tonight was one, um, not only having a plan, but making sure that the information you have up here is written down. So having those systems, having those processes that anybody can do. He also, talked about the importance of this, having faith, of course, in what you do, and of course the importance of leadership. So those are all great lessons that he shared. Once again, you're watching In the Black every Thursday here at 5 p.m. Once again, we're sharing more stories of diverse entrepreneurs about their challenges, their ups and downs, but most importantly, how they build a profitable business that operates in the black. Once again, thank you for your time, and we'll see you here again next Thursday at 5 p.m. Good night.